I actually don't know what colour I'm going to paint this yet. In fact, this is where you come in. Please let me know what colour Doris the Datsun should be painted. What we have here, it is sanded, it's masked, and anything that can stay exposed, if I've got enough epoxy primer, I'm going to paint it. Okay, got a bit of a mixing station sorted here. So I've got the epoxy, the hardener, some universal reducer, some measuring cups, a clean rag. I've got a bit of a clean surface here. Got my gun over here, ready to go. I've got a 1.8 tip in it. This stuff's pretty thick, so I think 1.8 is the recommended tip for this. That's the one I've used before and it works well. And I've got my respirator here, a good quality respirator. This stuff is really toxic, so it's important to use all the safety precautions. It's only primer, so I haven't got like a dust-proof suit on or anything like that. I'm not that concerned about getting dust and so on into the primer. It's more about getting the primer into my lungs that I'm thinking of at the moment. And I'm trying to maintain a clean surface. So, as I said, everything's clean, everything's prep washed. Sand's in there sanding some body filler down, so that's great. That's probably drifting onto my car. I only just thought of that. I'll close the door. That's the advantage of having roller doors between the two workshops. So I'm going to pull that down. That'll protect my car from the dust, but more importantly, it'll protect Sam from the paint, and it will protect the other two cars from the paint. This one, really don't care if it gets overspray. Really don't care too much if the workshop gets overspray. And I'll leave this door open for ventilation, but if I get too much breeze, then I'll close it. So I'm going to mix this stuff up, and then we're going to go. I'm going to stop talking in a moment because I want to put my mask on. I'll just say this stuff is mixed up, so it's got a hardener, so it's a two-part componentry. I keep it written on my cupboard here. This is EPO G55, a 4:1, so that's 4 parts of the epoxy to 1 part of the hardener. And I can use 5 to 20% thinners, so obviously the more thinners, the more it's going to flow out, and it sort of depends on the conditions. And 10 to 15 minute flash time, and that means 10 to 15 minutes between coats so that the solvents can flash out of the first coat. If you put it on too thick too soon, then you'll end up with bubbling and peeling problems. And to run it at 35 psi, so I've got to remember to set my regulator on my compressor, which is normally set at about 80 psi for my power tools. I'm going to set it to 35 psi so that it's suitable for my gun. So what we're using is a high volume, low pressure gun, and this is it here. This is not a super expensive gun, but it was a couple $100, and it's a good gun. I use it for everything, and it's got a vapor, like a moisture trap just here as well, right at the gun. And I'm running, so I've got this little setup that I've got. It runs from my compressor via this hose, just here. Then it comes in, and I can adjust my air pressure. So I'll knock that down to 35 psi, and it's got a moisture trap down here, which I bleed off every now and then. So that bleeds the water out, but then I'm going to be feeding through to another hose, and then when that hose gets to the gun, then there's another moisture trap just here, because I don't want moisture in my paint. Okay, now I'll mix. Okay, so I've let the fumes settle for a little while. I've got my mask off so I can talk to you. I didn't know whether this was going to fry up or not, so I only mixed up a relatively small batch. As it turns out, I've managed to mix up about 1 litre, and I've used about 400 ml so far, and I've got about 600 ml left. So after that, I've got nothing left. And I've got everything done that I'd prepared, other than this requarter just here. Done the top of it, but not the rest of it. Pretty thin coat overall. And the reason being is that when I first set my gun up, I was having trouble with my spray pattern. I just couldn't get it to come out very well. So I persisted with it for probably way too long. And then I decided that I wasn't going to persist with it. And I took the filter out of the gun. So I'm not straining the paint for starters. As in I'm not filtering it before I put it into my gun. I really don't see any point. But I did have a little in-gun filter in it. And I'm not sure, this stuff's pretty thick. I have a feeling that it might have been blocking that up, but I also added more reducer. I only had, I can't remember what I put in, 5 or 10% in the first place. I've put a full 20% in. So what I did before I finished the last gun, I tipped the paint out, I put some more reducer in it, or thinner, and made it more watery, so to speak, thinner, and sprayed it. And between that and the filter, and I'm not sure which was the benefit, it sprayed out heaps better. So the last bit that I did just here and on the door just here, it was spraying out in a nice wide fan, and yeah, much better, so nowhere near as patchy. So that's what the batch that I've just mixed up is like. So I will finish that rear quarter, then I will give these guards a go, and then with whatever's left, I'll go over other parts, trying to keep track of it. And then I'll have to get some more. This particular primer, you can't do wet on wet anyway, so I can't put a finishing coat over the top of it, and I'm not ready for that. This is just ready for body work, so I'm not ready for that. So whatever the case is, I have to sand this before I do anything more to it. So I'm not really worried if I don't get all of my coats on. I'd be aiming for 3 coats. I'm not really worried if I don't get all 3 coats on now. It's giving it protection, it's giving me something to work with. And when I get some more, then I'll put the subsequent coats on so that I can do the next stages of getting the body in a better state, ready for final paint. But I'm happy to get some primer on this. It's a step forward for sure. So I'll spray some more around.
I'm sorry, what did you say I look like, Lily?
Running a meth lab.
Running,
Walter White.
I look like Walter White, apparently. I failed to see the resemblance. But anyway, no.
Massive resemblance.
I am the cook.
Exactly what he says.
That's right, yep. I am the cook. So I have cleaned up. Let me take this off.
Okay, I've painted. Wow, it stinks in here. I've painted. I managed to get a full coat over the whole body of the car, and I managed to get 1 coat onto the mudguards, and then I ran out. But by thinning it down, it's a far better finish. I think you can probably see the sheen on it there. whereas it was very patchy before. Now it is only primer, so it really doesn't matter, but if it can flow out better, then it'll lay down flatter and I'll be able to sand it to a better finish. So we're making progress. An organised person would have had the whole car sanded and had enough primer and all the rest and would have remembered to paint that, but that's not me. So it's looking pretty good. It certainly is ready to be sanded down and get another coat. What do you think, Doris? Yep, Doris looks impressed. Okay, good work. So I just cleaned all my equipment up, and what I do, I've got all my old cleaner, so thinners and stuff. I first tip that into the gun and just flush it around, mix it around, and then tip it back out. And then I tip it back into that container. It's just the initial, let's get the bulk of the rubbish out. And then I get some new thinners. I don't use my reducer because it's just a little bit more expensive, my 2K reducer. I just use general purpose thinners. And I put that in the gun. I pull the whole gun apart, give everything a clean, and pack it back in, ready for next time. What I don't want is to pick that gun up and it not be 100% ready next time. Also wash all my cups up. Call me a tight ass, but you know, that may be the case. I wash all my guns up, I wash my paddles back up, I clean them, and I've got them for next time. I don't have to keep replacing them every single time. I'm not a shop, I haven't got some client paying for this stuff, it's all me. So there we have it. I am ready to go and buy some more primer, sand this back appropriately and give it another couple of coats, and then continue on with the work. Till next time. Next day, epoxy primers starting to set up. I've gone through and I've taken the rear bumper bar off, put this tail light back in. I'm not taking them out, as I said earlier. Just taken the seats or the rear seat out, stripping a few trim pieces down, so just the various clips and latches and all that sort of stuff. I'll take the tailgate off to do the bodywork repairs that I need to do over the top of the epoxy primer, and it'll give me the opportunity to be able to remove these seals without having to work above my head and all that sort of gear. It's 4 bolts. Everything on this Datsun seems to be 4 bolts or 4 screws. Yeah, because I've decided to do a complete colour change, then of course I've opened Pandora's box yet again. I'm good at that. So I will be needing to clean up all the door jambs, and seriously, could they put any more metal components in here? So I'm not sure how much I'm going to paint. Obviously I'll paint the doors, top and bottom of the doors, and certain bits, but I don't know that I really feel like going through and repainting every single square inch of metal that's in this thing. So we'll see. Stay tuned with that. I'll work it out. I do need to remove the door trims, and
Now you're going to be nice because I'll drop her if you are annoying.
in the background you may have just heard Lily saying something. What she was talking about was she was talking to Pumbaa, the dog, this one, to say don't eat the chicken. Because we've got some new chickens. What are they?
They are, I've forgotten already. They're
Excellent.
they're
Fantastic
silky
video
crosses.
content. No idea.
Silky crosses.
Okay, they're cross silkies, and so we've got a cross Frenchie and a cross silky. Actually, he's not cross at all. He's just angry. So where was I? That's right. So I've unmasked this part that I never finished sanding the other day. So I'll finish sanding that. Going to get all my supplies tomorrow to continue on, and I'll undrape the front so that I can get to the areas that I haven't yet primed there. And I've got the bonnet over there, and I'm probably going to put this sun visor on it. Like your opinion, should I put a sun visor on it? I like sun visors. I've got them on a few of my cars. What do you reckon? And remember, comment to let me know what colour you think I should paint. I've got some ideas. I'm not going to reveal it just at the moment, but I do have some ideas. So we'll keep pulling it apart. So I've got the door cards pulled off, just put the window winders and latches handles back on so that I can open and close the windows and doors as I need to. Again, bag and tag everything. So bag and tag, says doors, won't forget, it's just the door handles. And this is the door card off this side. Now, they both need fixing. Try and get it so you can see it. They both need fixing, that's all faded, and it's actually wet to touch because something's leaking, the door. And you can see it's got water down here, it's actually damp. Oh, stick the thumb through it, but it's a good template. So I've got an auto trimmer that I use, really good quality guy, but I'll probably just make these myself, I think. I'll just get some sort of board that is the right thickness, whatever it may be, and I'll probably get some vinyl and just put a very simple vinyl cover over it. Done similar things before, can't be too hard, and at the end of the day this car is what it is and I am up to that standard. And the other door trim's in slightly worse condition. It actually has a rip in it. The back ones I think aren't too bad. These ones, I'll look at them more closely. I'm probably going to change the colour of the interior. I might do it black, and if I do it black, then the existing stuff, including the dash pad and anything else, which is only about 4 parts, I'll probably just vinyl spray, or maybe the kick panel pieces. I'm not sure how hard they are to get out. The rear carpet is maroon. Let's get some light on the subject. The rear carpet is maroon. Please come out. That might get sprayed in place if I spray it. Parcel shelf, it's already black anyway. Black steering column, seems like an appropriate colour. It's just a matter of how far I go with everything else. I have got a sun visor for this side. There's one there. I think I've got another one in better condition. I have a dash pad that hasn't got cracks in it. So it's just a matter of how much I decide I want to paint. It's got to look good. I'm excited. Sam,
Yes.
how do you like my phone?
It's good. I like the magnets on it.
Yeah, it's good, isn't it? The way I can just get it and I can just put it on anything metal and it will stick there like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So did you want one of those?
I do, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So what have you done today? Or more to the point, what did Lily do today?
Lily bought me a magnetic phone charger. Phone case.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
How many times did she go to the shop before she got this phone case?
4.
4, okay. And then she got one, so that the person sold her a magnetic phone case. Look at that. So your phone is sticking to the hoist, correct?
It is.
Okay, good. Can you show me how that works?
So they give you a piece of metallic metal.
Metallic metal?
Yep.
Okay, yeah. That's good, that metallic metal. So you got some metallic metal, this piece here.
Yep.
And what, you got some washers on it or something, have you?
Yeah, we've got the magnets right here.
Oh, okay. So the magnets, they came with the phone case that you bought specifically?
No.
Oh, okay. So tell me the story. Why is there magnets on there that didn't come with it?
Well, I got sold a magnet,
Yep.
or rather a magnetic piece.
So a piece of metal.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's what we call it.
Yes.
In the trade, we call it a bit of metal.
Yep.
Yep. Okay. So how did you rectify this?
I put some magnets onto it with some JB weld.
Oh, okay. So you had 4 trips. Let's get this clear. You had 4 trips to the shop to get a magnetic phone case, to be sold a piece of metal that glues onto a phone case that we then got some magnets that we JB welded onto it so that you can do this.
Correct.
Excellent. Nice work.
Well worth it.
Yep. Cut, weld, grind, drive, and stick magnets to things. Well, that escalated quickly. Remember that closed door respray that I was going to do? Well, the doors won't be closed because the doors aren't on there. But you know what? You got to be a bear. Be a grizzly. Got to take the driver's door off. Take this pinch weld off. Give it a clean up, and pretty much everything's ready to go. I've taken the door locks off, the latches. Why not? The windows, not taking those out. They're a bit hard to get to, actually. I don't want to damage the rubbers. There's already perished rubbers on this that I'm going to have to come up with a solution for, but that area there, I'm just going to have to mask it. and squint and do as best I can. I am going to be painting the window surrounds, but so I won't be taking that out. He says. But I think it's not a bad way of going. I've got this one all masked up, and I haven't got this one masked up, so maybe I'll mask this up the same as the other side and come back to the window frames and do those as a thing after I've done everything else. No, I don't know. Someone tell me what to do, will you? Too many decisions. Going well. Right, I think I might start putting some body filler on this so you can see where the 3-minute rust repair was there. And I did one over here as well. And there's a little bit of waviness through here from a previous ding. So I'll probably end up filling from basically this line down and possibly even up a little bit as well with a feather. It's a little bit like this along here. So I'll give it a clean up and I'll scuff it up with some 80 grit, and then I will apply some body filler. Okay, I've got that sanded up. I said 80 grit, I think. I used 40 grit, so it's got a really good key in it. I noticed in the weld here, there's a couple of pinholes around here, so I'm going to put some fiberglass over there in the first place. Got to add some extra resin to it so that it's really runny, so that I can get into those gaps. If I'd noticed those earlier, I would have welded them up, but fiberglass will do the job. There is a high spot through here. You'll see here where the old paint was and where I took it back to bare metal to do the various rust repairs. There was a line across here, down here, and across over here. And the thickness of the paint and all the other layers that were here were actually quite noticeable. So the epoxy, I've sanded it back so that it pretty much bridges that gap nicely. Now I actually can still feel a little bit here. It's not too bad up here. But after I've done all this, I'm going to put another few coats of epoxy on this, and that will work as a high fill so I can blend all that stuff out. So, as I said, there is a high spot here. I did try my hand at heat shrinking, heating it up and tapping it in, and I didn't succeed. So I'm not going to go down that path. I think I actually made it worse than it was. So this is going to have a bit of extra filler in it. It's not massive, but it's going to take some filler. So I've just washed my hands because they were dirty, and I'm going to put some gloves on. I'm going to mix up some fiberglass and do this, and while that's setting up, I'll also mix up some body filler, and I'll start doing that. I remembered when I was doing the fiberglassing, which I'm still doing, so I've got to talk quickly, that there was a hole just here in the back, which I hadn't welded up. It's where the seal goes. I'm not particularly concerned about it. I'm just going to get a file and file the edges of it out, but I've cleaned it up. I'm just going to put some tape on the back of it, and then I'll fiberglass over that. And if I've still got some life in the fiberglass, I'll just go over some of the back of some of the areas where I've done the welds here as well. Pretty cool here at the moment, so this isn't setting up real quickly, so I've got time to talk. So there was a weld on focus. There was weld around here, and I'll show you on the other side, and there was a hole just here. So what I did, I just got some of this tape and I laid it down and then I stuck the sticky side up, and then I got some other tape and stuck it sticky side down so that there was a smooth unsticky side there, and I put it up underneath the hole so that it basically created a bit of a mould for the fiberglass to go on without it falling through the hole. A bit hard to explain, but hope you get the idea. Now over here, this is the back of the corner that I repaired, so you can see some weld there. I'm just going to go through and put some fiberglass in there, and I'll do some up around this area as well and where the weld is, just to prevent water from getting in there. The seal doesn't go in this area. The seal, the other side, that's where it's rusted. So this is just where the body line is. So I'll go through and just clean that up. Now, what you may have seen when I was mixing it, I had the fiberglass, and it's just glass impregnated body filler. So it's just like bog, but it's got fiberglass strands in it. Still just letting that set up. It's probably been on for about 15 minutes now, maybe longer, and it's still very wet, so I think it's probably a bit cold out here for it at the moment, so I'm not going to rush into that. But what I am going to do is go through and remove this seal. Now, I don't think I've got any chance of getting genuine seals for this, so I think I've said it before. I'll probably go to Clark Rubber and try and find something, but I really don't think there is much point in leaving this hardened piece of rubbish on there. It's been fried by previous paint and it's just rock hard. So I'll try and find a bit of it, maybe this bit here. Try and find a bit of it that shows me what shape I'm looking for when it does come to getting some, so that I can find a generic sort of thing that might fit. Yeah, it's just terrible. So I'm just going to use a screwdriver and an old chisel and probably some thinners to get the glue off, and then some sandpaper, and get all that off. Starting to get tacky. It's taken quite a while. I'm pretty sure I had enough hardener in it, so I think it's just the weather. So I've gone around, I've got pretty much all of this off now. This is all I've been doing. Old screwdriver, blunt chisel, and just going around and scraping it off. And it's come off pretty easily in most spots. It's brittle, so it's sort of powdery. It's not really coming off in one piece, or it hasn't come off in one piece at all, not even close to it. I won't get into that resin that fiberglass too much. But I can go around and finish cleaning that up with, I might use a little wire wheel on a grinder, angle grinder, so one of these. And then I'll scuff it all up for paint. I'm going to mask off around the rubber, the same as I did on the other side. I don't want to take the window out, don't want to get that silly about it. And then I can epoxy the back of this. Pardon me. I've still got to do the body filler on the corners because I've only done the fiberglass so far. But then once I've done the body filler, then I can epoxy it as well, epoxy the other side as well. I don't mind, I'll do one side, let it dry, flip it over, do the other side, and so on. But then the tailgate's done. So chunk at a time. It's much easier to do it on the stand than it is on the car. So 4 bolts, take a little bit of panel alignment at the end, but at the end of the day it's easy to work on. And it certainly gives me better access to clean up all this garbage. Okay, it's looking good. Well, about 3 weeks later, this fiberglass still hasn't set up. It's firming up, but it's still not hard. So anyway, it is what it is. I cleaned all that rubber off. I've gone through, given all of the inside of the gate here a sand with 40 grit and then 80 grit. And I've cleaned up all the grease and stuff that was on this area. So once this sets up, which won't be today, I'll sand it and get it done, and then the back of it will be ready for paint other than masking, and then I can move along to the other side. What I'm going to do in the meantime is I will work on cleaning up the surround of the jam here where it opens, all this sort of stuff. I don't know what it is. There's just this greasy, waxy stuff all over everything. Or not all over everything, over particular parts. Whatever lubricant they were using. So you can see previous repairs and so on through here. So I'll worry about cleaning all that up. I can feel some rust coming through here. Whether it's actually rust or whether it's just pitting underneath the body or underneath the primer, which I've found in a few spots. I'll recreate this seam down here at the same time. It's been puttied over, like on that side. And I'll give all this a clean. Something's been spilt. It's probably the same stuff that's all through the car. There's this gooey putty sort of stuff. So I'll give all this a really good clean up. And like this was filthy. The whole back of the car, everything was like this when I got it. So as I said, don't know what it was, but it was dirty. So I'll give it all a really good clean up. Then I'll give it a sand, and I'll also prepare this area down here across the back and get it all ready for its next layer of life, being epoxy primer. Look at that, look at all that space. Well, I seem to have a little visitor in the garage. Little brush-tail possum. Hello, mate. Let me open a door for you. So if I keep walking around here, maybe you'll find the door. I think you just found the door. Nope. Door's over here, mate. Can't make it too easy for you, can I, by having a big door open. Let me open the door, see if I can get my friendly little brush-tail possum out. When I say friendly, if you ever try to pick one of these up, they will scratch you like nothing else. So while they look cuddly and cute and friendly, they wee in your roof and make heaps of noise. Oh, come on, mate. Come on. I'll go this way. You keep going. No, hang on. Got 27 doors in here. Come on, mate. That's the way. That's the way. Keep going. Run the door. It's not that hard. Come on. Let's go towards the big... Oh, no. Jeez. Come on. Mate, where on earth do you think you're going? That's it, you get on my door. That's it, you go for a run. What a stupid animal. Okay, let's open that one. It's probably exciting viewing for you guys, isn't it? I don't really want a possum climbing up over the top of me while I'm trying to work on the car. Where's he gone? Yoo-hoo! Come out, wherever you are. Maybe he left. Now guys, if in the background you see a possum running around, let me know where. I'll open another door for him because clearly it's a little bit awkward for him. Oh, there he is, having him a concrete mixer. Run away. Come on, let's turn the light on. There you go. See you later, mate. Bye. Go on. Tell your story. Running. Maybe I should have given him some sandpaper. Might have helped. Clearly had plenty of energy. Okay, where are we at? So last I was showing you this. Well, it looked a little bit cleaner until I got interrupted by a possum. Well, I'm about to pack up for the night, but just in preparation, again, clean surfaces. I've gone around the back of this and given it a really good clean with window cleaner and a scourer, a maroon scourer. And the same around the door jambs here. These have come up mint, they look great. So I've decided I'm not going to paint the inside of the car. I'm just going to clean it up as well as I possibly can. But I'll paint the door jambs right the way up to the windlace. So I'll get all that done. It's coming up really, really well. I have started doing the passenger side also, or to those in America, the left-hand side. And so I've done around here and I think it's just coming up so nice. So again, I'll paint up to this point and I'll paint up to this point here, and then I won't need to paint any further. And pretty much all of the metal that you see, other than the part that'll be under the seat, will be exposed. So in the back there where there's all the scratches, I might try and get something to match it and go over it. But other than that, it's going to remain the same colour because I think it's just going to clean up really well. At the moment, I've just given the floor pan a bit of a scrub and with scourer, and I'm just spraying some water in. Well, I was until it ran out, just to clean it out. And this is the luxury of having bungs in the floor, so you can give it a flood, give it a good clean. And once that's done, I don't know, I might throw some paint under there, I might not. That's the factory finish, and quite frankly, it's in pretty good nick. If you haven't seen the earlier videos on this car, there was wet carpet in here, and I was concerned that the floors were rusted. Well, they weren't. They're actually in really good condition. So I'm going to call that a night, because I've got a chicken pie waiting for me. But I'm really happy. Made really good progress today. And we are moving a step forward. Is this set yet? No, still tacky. Anyway, till tomorrow. Just given the fiberglass a sand up here, and on the inside also. Won't flip it over, I'll show you later after it's done. So I'm just about to put some body filler on it. I've put 3 coats of filler on this, and I have sanded it down. There's a mark there. I've sanded it down with 40 grit twice, and then I've gone on to it with 60 grit. And I thought I'd finished it, but I noticed that there's a little part there that I've got to fill in. So this is ready, other than that, for its next coat of epoxy primer. I'm not going to do the top of it because I haven't done any work to that. So I'm just going to mask it off at this line here, and I will epoxy the bottom of it. I've still got to epoxy the back of it as well. And so I'll put another couple of coats on there, and then I will sand it ready for paint. Haven't done anything to this mudguard, and other than getting a few more coats of epoxy, actually think it's pretty good. I have started sanding the roof back, but before I get to that, there was a dent in here. There was one dent that I knew, and I filled that in one shot, and it did well. So I sanded that with 40 and then down with 60. And what I'm doing at the moment with my speed file, I've got 36 grit on this, and I'm taking off, I'm sanding the epoxy, I should say. So this is a very coarse grit, obviously, and epoxy is very hard, so you know, even though it's coarse, still got to put some elbow grease into it. But I'm going through and sanding all that back, and then I'll wipe it down. I'll dust it off and wipe it down to see if there's any other dents. But also there was some spots of rust which I sanded pretty heavily through, and like just surface rust that was underneath the paint. And when I sanded it through, you can probably see this just here. There's a hollow there, and there's several of those all over the car. So areas like this as well, and this here, where there was either a scratch or paint flaking. And I'm going over to identify those. And what I'm anticipating is that I'll be able to get rid of those with the layers of epoxy. I've only got 2 on the roof so far. I'll put at least another 1 on there after this is sanded back, probably 2. Yeah, I'll probably end up putting 2 there for a bit of high build. But I'm sanding this at the moment to try and identify any of those spots. And the epoxy is a high build, so the idea is that I can sand through, even if I break through to the original paint down the bottom. I'm not concerned about that at all. That is actually the plan. In fact, that's one of those spots just there. That is actually the plan, so that I can sand the epoxy off and level down to that level, and then once I've got those spots flattened out, then I can go through, recoat with epoxy, sand ready for paint. That's the plan. Now, as I said earlier, I didn't prime this. I didn't have it ready. I didn't prepare it, I should say. So I've just been sanding it back while my body filler's been setting, in between setting and sanding and all that sort of stuff. So it's coming along okay. I've got some edges to do. I didn't do this area here. I haven't done around the door. Sorry, the tailgate jam or anything like that yet. So little by little by little. Still got to remember to do that bonnet as well. But I'm very happy with the way it's coming up. Very happy. Gone over that, still need to do the edges, but what I'm looking for is these points here. So you can see this area here where it's still a bit shiny in the middle, and you can see I haven't contacted the epoxy yet. And the same just there, the shiny spot, and there's a couple of spots in the middle. And this was some areas here, that's where I put the body filler, but the ones beside there, they were some quite deep areas of, there was no dent, it was just where the paint and the primer and so on had been sanded down by myself to get those chips out. So there's several marks. I'll keep working on those. I think I'll be able to sand them out, but they are noticeable enough that they'd show up in the paint, but I think they are shallow enough that they would cover with some epoxy primer sanded down again. So yeah, that's what I'm working with. Okay, beautiful sunny day here. Back into it. Spent a bit of time on this last night and I'm back into it. So what I've got done, I've been doing detailed sanding all around the openings. So I've done the back here, I've done around this door. Oops, I've done around here. I'm doing it depending on the condition of the paint. I'm either starting with 40 grit, working to 8 and then 80 and then 60 and then 80. Pardon me. Or I'm starting off with 60 and going to 80. And that's around the door jambs. I've only started this one, haven't continued on with it yet. Just going across the front here. So as you can see, it's pretty crusty across the radiator support, so I'm going in hard with 40 grit, just trying to remove as much as I can. And I found a paint code as well. Paint amino alkoid enamel, but no paint colour, not that I care. It's not going to be the same colour. So working around here, taking the crusty bits off, and then I'll work across the front. So once again, I'm just preparing for another coat of epoxy primer. So on the roof here, I've got this down to 120 grit, and you can see I've found those various spots that I was referring to. It's actually come up really nice. So I'm ready just to put another couple of coats of epoxy on it. Now, if you remember when I was painting this, I got one coat on some things and two coats on others. I'm going to go over, so I'll scuff this back. I wouldn't need to put more epoxy onto this panel or around areas like this and so on, or even here or down here. I wouldn't need to do that because it'd be ready for paint, but I'm going to go through and give it a scuff with 120, and I'll put one more coat over those areas, and areas like this I'll give it another 2 coats, and areas that I haven't done before around door openings and so on, I'll give it 2 or 3 coats. I don't want to build up the thickness of the paint too much, but I want to be enough there so that when I do the final sand before paint, I don't bare metal it and I can get it nice and smooth. So has this project blown out of proportion? Absolutely. Had no intention of painting it, but you know, I really enjoy this process. I've said before that I don't enjoy bodywork. You get into the mindset, it's okay. I actually don't mind it, but I really look forward to that time when I throw the paint down on this. And that's like, again, I've said before, I'm not a painter, but I really enjoy the process of putting the paint down and just seeing the change from something that was to the way it turns out. And really, it has to be better than it was. And I want it to be better than just better than what it was. I want it to be really nice, something I can be proud of. So I don't mind putting in the extra effort. And I've said before, I'm not rushing. if I get sick of sanding, I got plenty of other things to do. So at the moment, I'm not sick of sanding. My fingers are getting worn out, but that's a separate thing. So back onto the 40 grit. Far less crusty now. So sand up, and then I've given it a scrub with some window cleaner, glass cleaner, and a Scotch-Brite scourer pad. I use the grey, which is about equivalent to 600 grit. Not that that matters, but it has just given it a good clean up. So while it still looks a bit crunchy and crusty, it should be okay. Now, I may, definitely will, may paint the engine bay at some point in time. So what I've done, I've cleaned up this inner guard lip where the guard goes over the top of, just back to this line. And I will put that in epoxy and I'll paint it the colour, I think. Maybe. Depends whether I put the mud guards on yet. But I'll at least put it in epoxy. And same here. I've just prepared to the underside of this lip on the core support, the radiator support, so I can mask off, and I'll paint right the way to there. And then obviously the same on the other side and underneath. So it is ready for epoxy. Now I'm going to move around and prep this door, and then I will probably do a final get ready for epoxy sand on parts like this. But right now, I'm going to have something to eat. Well, that should be all of the sanding on the actual body, other than down the bottom of the rear quarter here and on the other side and somewhere else. I can't think where. I've found a couple of little spots of rust, so I'll need to go through, cut that out, plate it, body fill it, and then epoxy it. So I'll do that before I do the final epoxy here. I'll